Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Mesha McKittrick. This is a podcast where we believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do, and where we also believe that if you can get in tune with your reason, it helps you move into willingness. That's what we're going to talk about today in our Pump Up episode. Before we do that, I just want to say, hey, how are you, and how are you enjoying your spring? Literally, I have been outdoors so much. We've been hiking. We live in such a beautiful place, and we've been hiking numerous times and just taking picnics to enjoy and absorb the weather. You know, the kind of weather where you're sitting there and you just take a deep breath in and you can't even decide where your body temperature ends and where the air begins. You know what I mean? It is so enjoyable. And that's how the spring has been for us. We hiked Kolob, we've hiked Snow Canyon. There's so many beautiful places around us. So I've really been enjoying that. And then, you know what else I've been working on that I'm so living excited about are all of these meditation collections where I do a handful or more of meditations on a certain topic and then provide that to you. So I've been working on them. They're not quite available for you yet. But you know what I'm really excited about? If you have been following me on Instagram, then you know that I am a mom of a missionary. And the one that I made the collection I made very first was, of course, you know what's at the top of your mind are your kids all the time and what they're into. I made missionary meditations, and I'm so excited to make them available to all missionaries from any denomination. So, of course, they'll be available for purchase on my website, but missionaries that are currently serving, if they text hello@myfriendmesha.com and just let me know that they would love the missionary collection, then I'll send it to them for free. So it's a way to be able to bring heart coherence into their work and to be able to use it to help propel their work, right? And each meditation in that collection is somewhere around 10 minutes. So it's really, really easy to get on board with doing something that can enhance the thing that you're already doing. So anyway, I'm so excited. I hope that you're pumped about these meditation collections. There's more coming your way. And like I've mentioned in the past, if you have a specific topic that you would love to have a meditation collection around, meaning, you know, we meditate to bring us into that feeling, into that space. Some of the meditation collections I'm going to be doing first are performance meditations and also excitement meditations. You know, there's so many that I have on my list, like forgiveness and abundance and for moms with young kids, etc. So if there's a topic that you really, really want me to focus on, you know, before the other ones, let me know. Reach out to me. Either DM me on Instagram at myfriendmesha or send me an email at hello@myfriendmesha and just let me know. And I'm so excited to work on these things and to provide them for you. Okay, with that being said, I hope that you are also enjoying yourself and that you have some fun things on your horizon that you get to pour your heart into. And without further ado, let's jump into our episode. Hello, my friend. Today I want to talk to you about being willing and why that matters. I take a little bit of inspiration from Jesse Essler. This is Sarah Blakely's husband, if you don't know who he is. Sarah Blakely is the girl who started Spanx. And I love starting with that. I love starting with saying, hey, if you don't know who he is, this is who she is, because how cool it is to see women growing and creating and doing really amazing things in the world. So if you don't know who Jesse Essler is, he's totally worth looking into. He's just a fireball of motivation, and it's fantastic. So he shared this idea or a famous trick that improv comedians use when they pass the mic to another comedian. They have this rule. They never say, no, or something like that. Whenever the mic gets passed to them, they say yes and, okay, or something synonymous with yes and, because no stops momentum. No, puts everything in the, you know, oh, we just went 10,000 steps backwards instead of forwards, right? So he talks about being a yes and person. And are you a yes and person? And how yes and really allows creation. It begets energy. It gives rise to flow and momentum. He talks about being creative with the words that you use. And I love this little clip that he did. He does so many speeches and has a lot of great ways to look at the world and about the way that we can approach our own doingness, what we are doing and what we're experiencing in this life. So he says this quote after talking about the way that we create with our words. And he says, are you willing to go all in? Are you willing to empty the tank and to pour your soul into things? Are you willing to act with urgency? Are you willing to have a dialogue in your head that's positive and to have spoken word in your head that's positive? Are you willing to show up for people in your life? I love that quote because when we're willing, we're in tune with what's on the other side of the statement, right? We know what might come if we're willing to go all in. We know what might come if we're willing to empty our tank and to pour our soul into things, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And it's amazing to me to really break down the areas of our life where we could ask ourselves, are we being willing in this thing? Or are we being something that is opposite of willing? So I really want to break this down with you. So the meaning of willing is inclined or favorably disposed in mind, okay? Or number 2, cheerfully or eagerly compliant. So just let that start to roll over in your head as you are also thinking of what it looks like to be unwilling. And as you're thinking about what it looks like to be unwilling, think about what comes with being unwilling. In other words, what are the feelings that come when you're not being willing? And just really allow yourself to think about that for a minute, because feelings are really important. The way we feel is a roadmap to creation, right? The creation of our life. So if you're feeling something, chances are you're going to keep feeling more of it. And the patterns of chemicals that are happening in your body around the way that you're feeling will want to repeat because we're addictive in that nature. And our subconscious brain also likes to repeat and to bring things forward of going, oh yeah, this is the pattern of the way that we're supposed to live. So let's do more of it and more of it and more of it. So when we're doing something and we're not willing, then whatever that feeling is that's there will begin to multiply in our life, okay? So we're going to talk about that feeling. So what is it? Just you go ahead and say the thing out loud. When you're not willing, you are whatever it is, because it could be millions of things, right? It could be resentment or hate or feeling used or all of these different feelings, right? That could come along with not being willing. And so to get even more deep, we want to ask ourselves, when you're not willing, why are you not willing? Because the why helps us to be able to see okay, do we need to just rearrange our thinking or do we need to stop the action, right? If it's not for you and you're doing it anyway, then we need to have the wisdom to stop it. But if it's something that you should do, it's good for you or for someone in your family or in your circle or whatever, but you're having a sour attitude about it, that's when we need to reframe and come into something different. Because it's the matter of just opening our eyes. There's so many humans on this planet that are not really being a willing participant of their own lives. So you might hear people that are consistently complaining, moaning, groaning, blaming, or being the victim of their life. And then we know that that's just creating more and more and more of that. And so again, we're just opening the eyes to be able to say, is there something that you're doing that you're not willing in? And let's ask why. Why? Because if we can get in tune with the reason behind why we would want to even move into being willing about it, it can change everything. Because it can get us to move from having those yucky low feelings like resentment, used, hate, whatever those feelings were. We can move into being willing. And once you're willing, that is the gateway to a completely different level, right? Willingness is moving into more of a positive scale, and it opens the door to be enthusiastic, right? It's the distinction between wanting to or being willing to. Wanting to has enthusiasm dripping from it, and being willing is a little bit more like getting on board for a good reason and then doing it with a cheerfulness in your heart, right? We have a family motto, and it comes from Thomas Jefferson's 10 Rules of Life. It's rule number 7 is a nod to our family number, which was just a happy coincidence, right? And it says, nothing is troublesome when done willingly. Nothing is troublesome when done willingly. And that's really just to help us check into the feeling that we have when we're asked to take out the trash or whatever it is, right? But everything changes when you move into being willing. And if you can't move into being enthusiastic about something, maybe you can move into being willing about it. And then all of a sudden the door opens, right? Because you cannot even be willing to learn, because no one can help you if you're not willing. You can't grow unless you're willing to change. There's an aspect that we leave behind in our lives when we're being willing. Joseph Campbell says, you must be willing to leave the life that you planned in order to find the one waiting for you. So all of these cool ways of looking at being willing. We need to be willing to be comfortable with, doing hard things if we want to grow and we want to have like the success. We really do need to put the work in and the effort in our lives to be able to have the end product, right? I'm such an end product person. I don't know if you are. I really love, seeing a room that is complete, like it's been painted or whatever the project was, the redo, I love the finished product. To me, there's so much satisfaction in that. And so I think in our mind, if we can start to see the finished product, the reason why we would want to move into willingness, we open the door. We open the door and we start to see that whatever we're needing to let go of to be willing is worth it to move there. It's worth it. It's worth it to look at it differently. And one of the biggest things that I think that I really want to point out here is that willingness sometimes is unrecognized, right? Our state of being unwilling or being willing, sometimes it's like we're doing the thing anyway, and we've been doing it for a long time, but there was a point when we moved from being willing to do it to being unwilling. And sometimes we don't recognize that. And that was the whole purpose for doing the podcast on being willing, right? On moving into willingness, because really getting down to asking the question, is there anything in your life that you're doing, but you're not doing it willingly? It's a disruptor. It's getting in the way. It's creating low, negative, yucky feelings, vibrations, right? If we have a vibrational scale of energy and you look at emotions and where they fall, willingness is the next step up from neutrality, right? So we have all of these lower feelings like the feeling used and the resentment, the hate, the victimization, all of those kinds of things are so low. But the moment that we move into willingness, we've come out of low, we've come just above being neutral. And all of a sudden, we opened the door, we opened the floodgates, we opened ourselves to something else that's there. And I'm really, really passionate about bringing that forward for us, because sometimes we are sitting in a state of being unwilling and we forgot. We forgot that our state inside is our responsibility, right? We forgot to do the thing with a cheerful and happy countenance because we are on board with what's on the other side of at least being willing. If we can get ourselves into being willing, everything changes. So here's a quote from Jess Etzler in his yes and idea. And when I read the quote, I want you to think about it as though it's you that people want to surround themselves with. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Here's the quote. It says, when we surround ourselves with successful, positive people who embody the yes and mentality, we create an environment that encourages growth, inspiration, and innovation. Being around people that are always open to new ideas and who embrace challenges can help us adopt a similar mindset and push ourselves to achieve our goals. On the other hand, when we surround ourselves with negative people who shut down our ideas and discourage us, we create a toxic environment that can hinder our progress and stifle our potential. Take note of how these people and their responses affect you. It's draining. Instead, seek out people who are enthusiastic, supportive, and excited about your crazy ideas and who are always looking for ways to grow and improve. The reason I wanted you to listen to the quote as though you're the person that's being sought out, okay? Are you the person that falls under the category of encouraging growth and inspiration and innovation and, lots of good and energy? Or are you in the camp of like the negative people who shut down ideas or discourage? And I wanted you to read it like that or hear it like that because who you are, you attract. Okay, so he's asking you to surround yourself with people that are like that. And you might be saying, well, how do I do that? It's called be that. Be that, and it's automatic. It just automatically happens. So like the yes and, being willing keeps the momentum going in your life. And if you can't get yourself on board with being enthusiastic about something that is an actionable item that you are doing in your life, at least open the door to being willing so that you can then open the door for more, for better, for happy and joyful ways to move through your life. And I hope that by saying yes and being willing, you can see that you have more power than you think you do. I hope that you got something out of that podcast. As a reminder, great ways to support the podcast are to rate and review and subscribe. And you can also shop the Amazon link where we get a kickback of the things that you purchase, but they're not more expensive for you. It's just a really thoughtful way for you to give back and to make sure that when you're shopping, you're also being mindful of giving. So when you go to Amazon to purchase every single thing under the sun, right? You can just type in amazon.com/shop/my friend Mesha, and that will take you right to it. And I would super, super appreciate it. All right, and before we go, I want to remind you of Thomas Jefferson's 7th rule for his 10 rules of life, okay? And that is, nothing is troublesome when done willingly. When you do something willingly, you get to bypass all of the yuck that comes when we are creating that internal trouble. So I hope you find a lot of power and freedom in that, and maybe even really huge breakthroughs. Until next time, my friend.